Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News on the South Florida Conservative News Center. And it is Monday, June 16th. So you're aware. Today, we open a file most of the media has ignored or buried or floated over the top of. And this is not a smear for all you lawyers out there. It's not conspiracy. It's straight historical. And in Los Angeles, it may be the most dangerous untold story in modern American politics. Maybe, right? We're talking about Karen Bass, Lord Mayor of Los Angeles, former Speaker of the California Assembly, and five-term U.S. Congresswoman. All right, her resume reads like a progressive sex story. But underneath the polished surface is a roadmap of ideological grooming, soft subversion, and of course, a city now on its knees and aflame. So today's question is, was Karen Bass the product of a decades-long foreign ideological operation aimed at weakening America from within? Ooh, that's a big, big question. And if so, has that mission succeeded? And you think to yourself, well, you guys think you're cool with this kind of topic and you're going to get in there with the Alex Jones group. Absolutely not. This is fair game, fair dinkum, as we say back in Australia. And we're going to talk about the actual truth of this woman. And our story begins in the 1970s. Karen Bass, then a young activist in Los Angeles, joined a group, did not form a group, joined a group known as the Venceremos Brigade. Okay. On paper, it was a humanitarian mission, young Americans helping with construction in Cuba. In reality, it was a Cuban intelligence penetration platform designed to recruit ideological allies in Los Estados Unidos. Okay. Bass traveled to Cuba in 1973, but she didn't just go once. She reportedly returned every 6 months for a period, despite growing Cold War tensions and Cuba's overt alignment with the Soviet Union. She was likely watched as any number of departments were at that time a little upset with the Cubans and the Russians and their need to infiltrate the United States. The LAPD's Public Disorder Intelligence Division, the PDID, had her on its radar. But in 1983, those files were ordered destroyed under activist pressure and lawsuits. So Bass's file is gone or sanitized or erased. Freedom of information will not get you what you need if you apply to the PDID. Okay, but her trajectory didn't stop. She didn't vanish into obscurity. She shifted as a trained ideological asset might into medicine, then grassroots activism. And in the 1990s, she founded the Community Coalition in South Los Angeles, fighting drugs and poverty, or so it seemed. In practice, it laid the groundwork for a power base funded by left-wing NGOs, including Soros-aligned and Ford Foundation money. She was no longer in Cuba. She was building a domestic apparatus here in the United States. By 2004, Bass had moved into the California State Assembly. By 2008, she became its speaker, the first Black woman to do so in any state, then Congress, then mayor of Los Angeles. Every step was coordinated, supported, greenlit, and well-funded. I can't stress well-funded enough. At no point did she ever repudiate her ties to the Castro regime. At no point did she offer praise for American exceptionalism. She does not speak of freedom. She speaks of equity. She does not celebrate the Constitution. She cites the systemic oppression of the United States. What Karen Bass represents isn't just a politician with progressive views. She is not a Manchurian candidate. She is the ideal end product of the Soviet and Cuban subversive strategy that was launched in the late 60s and 70s. Not with guns, but with grievance, with division, and with institutional capture. Okay, so as Mayor Karen Bass, I don't even like to say her name, presides over a city in collapse. Homelessness is surging despite billions of dollars being spent a lot of times to NGOs that probably, as we know now, turn back and kick the money into other elections so they could self-perpetuate themselves in their little socialist funded paradise. Crime is rising while the LAPD is being defunded and demoralized. Illegal immigration is overwhelming city services, but sanctuary protections remain. By the way, sanctuary protections are illegal. It is illegal to do that. All right. When disaster hits, she's off and out of the country. She's in Ghana. She's in Mexico. She's in Europe. She's building global ties while her own city burns. She has to connect with various other global elite types to continue her rise up. Okay. These aren't, where was she during the fires in Los Angeles? Where the Los Angeles fires or whatever they want to call them now, right? Has anything been done? But all those movie stars and people that lived out there, they got to bite their tongue because they are in that party or they are subjected to that party line. So they cannot even barely make any statements about it. It's the other poor homeowners that have to make that cause. Okay. So their policy objectives are rooted in ideology because in the Marxist-Leninist framework, especially as refined by Antonio Gramsci and adopted by Cuban intelligence, there is differences. The city is not a place to build. It is a place to break. It is a place to destabilize. It is a place to exhaust the old system and replace it with something more compliant. You can look it up yourself. Antonio Gramsci is his name. I'm saying it wrong, but oh well. Okay, so that whole systematic thing, that's why they seize these big cities. That's why they drive these cities into the ground. It's why they have the thought police out there. Those of you who saw some of these poor old people from No Kings, the woman was in tears. She was afraid. They've made every elderly person who has nobody to watch out for them afraid for their fucking lives. And just for that alone, they should be taken to a hole someplace. All right. But it's all okay because it will work out in the end for socialism. So what are we left with here? You have a city that's bleeding and on fire, a mayor who rose through the ashes only because of erased surveillance files, only because of that. Because I tell you, from what I've heard third party, if we could get those, there are ways to get to it, but it's not through that actual unit. We're not going to talk about it because I'm sure she'll go out there and stamp them out in the meantime. A system that rewards ideological loyalty, not merit, and a politician too afraid, too busy, or too manipulated to ask the obvious questions. How did this happen? Who helped it along? And what is next? I mean, these are the things that I would ask. And these are the things that people in the Los Angeles County area should be asking. You know, Gavin Newsom is at what, 22%? He will never become the president unless they kill every semi-competent Republican. Not that they don't want to, as we'll see with some of the new generation of these fire and forget assassins is just coming of age. You have not seen the top of the order yet. So in the meantime, you can look at her. You can look at what we've said. You will see how the media has twisted these stories. But she is a product of, as I said, Cuban and Russian intelligence. The Cuban intelligence force, by and of its own, is and was one of the most excellent intelligence services out there. And when it came, better than the CIA in most days, I will tell you that. And when it comes to physical, people on the ground intelligence, they are a tough bunch of MFers. So she was trained by the best available at the time, and it definitely is proven out by her rise, the connections that she has made. If one were to be a witch hunter, you would follow her and look at every person who has helped her career along the way, because that is how the communist style works with this new generation. The person who gives you the money is not always your, as they would call the police, your rabbi or anything like that. They are told this is where you do. You got to this gate, here's $10,000, move to the next gate. They give you $10,000, you move to the next gate. And that is how it's played out. That way there are many, many cutouts and very, very hard to wind up and point a finger at somebody. But you could just shut the operation down as you go along. So that's where we stand as of now. And otherwise, have a good day, and we'll have more for you later on. Goodbye.